This is a 2025 Mazda CX-30 2.5 Turbo Premium Plus. The base price of a Mazda CX-30 2.5S is $26,415. Jumping into the 2.5 Turbo Premium Plus raises that price to $38,370. And my test car does include that new optional paint color and an accessory and costs $38,955. Looking at the CX-30 in profile, you're actually looking at the new for 2025 color. It is called Aero Gray Metallic. It is a $450 optional color, and if it looks at all familiar, Mazda originally sold it on the MX-5 Miata. Overall, it is a compact shape, but it is also a very lovely compact shape. I will go ahead and put the dimensions up on the screen right now for you to check out and let you know that I have a lot more information in the description. Open up the power liftgate to see 20 cubic feet of storage behind the second row. Press a couple of buttons and you have 45 cubic feet of space. You do have analog gauges on either side, but this ring in the center is actually just on the surface of a 7-inch LCD screen. And we do have a 10.3-inch center display. There is your instrument cluster all lit up and your center display lit up. You can see that it says Android Auto with an arrow up and Apple CarPlay with an arrow down. All right, let's dig into the powertrain and talk a little bit more about this turbocharged 2.5-liter 4-cylinder with its 250 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque. 5 of the 8 trims get a naturally aspirated version of this 2.5-liter. Those trims get 191 horsepower and 186 pound-feet of torque to play with. Quite a bit less. The top 3 trims get this turbocharged motor and get the additional power and a huge gain in torque, but they also get the option to run on either regular or premium gasoline. This engine runs on regular gasoline just fine. However, Mazda is very clear. If you choose to run on regular gasoline, you're going to pay a penalty in horsepower. You get 227 instead of 250 and 310 pound-feet of torque instead of 320. For this class of vehicle, that's still a lot. And, you know, there are economic reasons to choose regular gasoline, but come on, power is power, right? It is a 6-speed transmission, a pretty low number in the modern era, but considering the size of this SUV, the weight of this SUV, and the flexibility of this turbocharged engine, here more than any other Mazda I've ever experienced it in, seems like 6 speeds is plenty of gears. It really is a great powertrain. If I floor the accelerator, aside from the early shifts, I get really good pull. But not only do I get good pull, I get it from a smooth, clean running engine that feels balanced and refined. Considering the size of this thing, that is where we get to one of the compromises: fuel economy. It's not bad. You get 22 miles per gallon in the city, 30 miles per gallon on the highway, 25 combined. But considering the size of this, that is a little bit behind what other manufacturers offer. All right, everybody, time for an acceleration test. See what this turbocharged Mazda CX-30 can do. Okay, coming to a complete stop. Bit of brake torque. About 2,700 RPM off the brake. Oh, yes. Oh, early shift, early 1-2 shift for sure. Pretty early 2-3 shift as well, but good acceleration. Yeah, this Mazda CX-30 is quick. It has a pretty slow number of gears for the modern era, 6 speeds, but with 250 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque, that is plenty of power to get moving and keep moving. Power to weight ratio was pretty darn strong. For a compact SUV of this size, fantastic acceleration. All right, let's dig into the chassis. You have a strut front suspension, which is incredibly common, but you actually have a torsion beam rear suspension. That is a simple, solid rear axle rear suspension. That does hurt refinement a little bit. Even though this is a fairly rudimentary suspension geometry that we have, it is tuned very, very well. So even though this is an SUV, it feels pretty sharp, pretty responsive. You know, quick turns of the wheel and you get some body roll, but it's not excessive in any way, and it's really easy to feel where the car is. It's a touch stiffer than some compact SUVs, but to me, it's still perfectly compliant over bumps and lumps in the road. If you go over some really rough stuff, some washboards or some really uneven things, that torsion beam rear end does show itself, and the rear end will dance around in a little bit of a weird way. But it takes a really rough patch of road to start noticing things like that, and otherwise, it actually feels really good. All right, getting onto the interstate now. Obviously, we do have plenty of driving aids. The vast majority of them are standard. I will go ahead and put them up on the screen right now. Mazda calls them iActive Sense. Okay, cruise control is on and set to 78 miles an hour to go with traffic. And now I've got the steering assistance screen on as well. And I'll show you what I can see on the instrument cluster as a result. You can see my speed set, and you can see the green lines next to the thicker white lines to show you the steering assistance is set and the green steering wheel. And we are going through a subtle curve right now, so I'm going to take my hands off the wheel. And sure enough, we are staying pretty well centered in the lane and cruising down. Yeah, that works well. You can see the steering moving back and forth, adjusting slightly, but it is fairly smooth the way it acts. More fundamentally, we have about 2,300 RPM in the top gear right now, courtesy of the 6-speed automatic transmission. A little bit higher than average these days, but it is a smooth running, quiet operating 4-cylinder, and it is very much in the background. And I have to say, cabin isolation is pretty darn good. I'm getting very little wind noise. It's just kind of a distant, low energy thrum. You can hear the wind being pushed out of the front of the car a little bit, but I'm not even hearing anything through the seams, next to nothing around the side view mirrors, and road noise is pretty darn quiet as well. This is a lot closer to premium compact SUV than mainstream compact SUV. Furthermore, the seats are very comfortable. I do have lumbar support, which I always appreciate. I'm really enjoying myself. So, what do I think of this subcompact 2025 Mazda CX-30? Just like the Mazda 3, I really like it a lot. I love the way it feels for the driver. I love the reaction you get from the steering to the front end. I love how the front end and the rear end work so well together. I'm really happy with the ride handling compromise. And I love the amount of power you get in this. But we are talking about a subcompact crossover SUV, and power does come with the compromise of hurting your fuel economy. If you're in the market for something this size, are you really looking for something this exciting? Or are you looking for something a little bit more utilitarian that does the utilitarian things just a little bit better than this one does? For the pure consumer, the Mazda CX-30 comes with some compromises. But if you're an enthusiast at any level and you're in need of a crossover that is still enjoyable to drive, the Mazda CX-30 is just aces. I'm Robin Warner. Thank you very much for watching.